When you travel, you often rent a car instead of buying one. And sometimes when you have a project around the house, you might rent a ditch digger instead of buying one. What about a boat? Should you rent or should you buy? Stick around to find out more. Hi, I'm Sean from Lens Cove Lessons in Boating. And here at Lens Cove Marina, we both sell boats and rent boats. And we get customers who only ever own a boat and buy them. And we get customers who only ever rent boats because they use them for short durations in the summer. And then we get a lot of people who start with renting and fall in love with boating and decide that they want to become a boat owner and switch over to boat ownership. So we feel very well equipped to talk about whether you, as a potential boater, should rent or buy. And on today's video, we're going to cover the type of people who would rent a boat and some of the common great pros about it and cons, the type of people who often buy a boat and some of the pros and cons, and give you some tips on how you navigate the rental and buying boat market. So let's start out with renting a boat. Often people are thinking about vacations and time on the water with friends. So our most common boat renter is someone who doesn't own property on the water, but maybe have rented, whether you're renting an Airbnb or a Vrbo, or you have found a cottage of a friend's and you're going to rent it for a week. We often rent boats to those people for a week so that they can have the experience of cottage ownership and cottage life, being on the water and having a place to be, and then to be able to get on the water and explore, fish, tube, do all the things that boaters do. That is the most common rental, and that is a great pro of renting boats, is that you can try out different areas. So you might rent a cottage on a lake in the Muskokas and rent a boat to go along with it. And maybe you want to try one in the Kawarthas, or maybe you're in somewhere in the States and you wanted to try different lakes in your home state or area. Or maybe you want to go to Florida and you want to rent a place in the water on Marco Island, but you don't want to buy a boat. You want to get out on the water and explore, so you rent a boat for the week. Another pro of renting a boat is that you can try different types of boats. Particularly if you're thinking, I might want to buy a boat rental is an amazing way for you to try out some different types. Perhaps you think, maybe a pontoon's right for me, so rent one for the day. Maybe a bow rider's right for me, rent one for the day. It's a very low cost way to try out something so that you don't make a mistake. And often, if you're working and having a boat rental with a good dealership, if you say, I'm in the market to potentially buy a boat, you could negotiate that they give you part of that rental back as a deposit on a new boat once you decide. One of the cons with renting is that you can often get into a boat that is really well used and maybe not maintained. One of the most challenging things as a boat renter when we rent boats out is that they come and go so quickly that we often don't have time to do the proper maintenance because we don't have time between switchovers. We're not like a car rental place where we have thousands of cars in our fleet and we can swap out for maintenance time. Boat rental places have 2, 5, 10, 20 boats to rent. And if they're booked for a whole season, it's really hard to find time to do proper maintenance because they come and go on a Saturday or whatever the case may be. So sometimes you get out on the water on a boat that should have had an oil change 20, 30, 40, 100 hours ago, or maybe there's something that's broken on it that got damaged and they haven't had time to fix it. Or the other thing that can happen is it can be very expensive, depending on the type of renter or rental place that you deal with. If you damage something, what are their damage responsibilities and procedures? So one of the downsides of renting is potentially getting into a boat that doesn't work very well and kind of spoiling your time on the water. Another con to renting is that it is relatively more expensive when you decide to boat a lot. So when we price out rental boats, and it happens at dealerships all over North America, we factor in maintenance, repair, depreciation, damage, and a number of things, and profit, and the people who also clean the boats and keep all that stuff together. So because those boats get a lot of hours, they are depreciated at a higher rate than a regular used boat. If you want to boat a lot, 4, 5, 6 weeks a year, you'll find very quickly that renting becomes a disadvantage cost-wise. When you look at what you might be able to buy for that amount of money for a 6-week rental, it becomes very easy to start to become more expensive than buying. However, you do also have the convenience of just handing the boat back at the end of the week and not having to worry about organizing anything. The other downside to renting is potentially not getting what you want. When you buy a boat that is perfect for you, it's yours. You can use it every weekend on any given lake that you want, and you don't have to book anything. When you rent, you have to potentially pick a boat that isn't ideal, or maybe it's not available on the week that you want it. So keep that in mind. So the next part to think about is, should we buy? So if perhaps you've already rented a boat and you've fallen in love with the idea of boating, and you have decided that you definitely need a pontoon boat or want that, should you move from the rental market into the buying market? And there's no magic time when that makes sense. We have people who only use a boat for 2 weeks out of the entire year and own a very expensive boat. And they do that because they want the exact boat at the exact time that fits their needs, and that's one way to guarantee it. And they love their boat. And we have some people who want to boat for 6 to 8 weeks a year and decide that renting is the right way to go because they don't have to worry about outlaying all the funds up front. They don't have to worry about individually paying for maintenance and insurance, although they are in the rental fee. So it just keeps their life simple, even though financially it isn't a benefit. So when you decide to buy is really a personal choice. And it usually comes down to, control. Do you want to control your boating experience? And if you do, then buying is the way to go. If you're okay with having more convenience but less control, then you may want to stick with rental. Both renting and buying are great ways to go boating. And you'll find that one can lead to the other and vice versa. So here's some tips. If you're renting, make sure you ask the rental place how often they change their boats out. Are they new every year? Are they 5, 10, 15 years old? And are they well maintained? Do they have pictures on their websites of the actual boats, or do they have pictures that are just of that boat model? And make sure you read the fine print on what you're responsible for and not. If you're buying a boat, make sure that you get out on the water before you 100% commit. Check out this video here on why you need a lake test before you buy a boat. And in either the rental market or the buying market, you might want to check out this video here, which explains all the different types of boats and why it might be good for you or not. Thanks for joining us on today's Lens Cove Lessons in Boating. Make sure you subscribe to get on board for more of these type of videos. If you like today's video, make sure you throttle that like button, get out on the water, have fun, and stay safe.